Hey Econ students, in this video we're going to give an introduction to microeconomics and talk about some of the key model assumptions that we need to have to make our models function. So economics is the study of how people make choices when faced with scarcity. We have unlimited wants, but only a limited amount of resources. So economics takes these resources and it looks at all of our economic decision makers to decide how these resources will be used, what prices to set, and how our models are going to function. So to begin with, we have 4 economic decision makers. We have individuals, we have firms, we have government, and we have the rest of the world. Now, microeconomics mostly focuses on individuals and firms, while macroeconomics is going to be more focused on government and the rest of the world. So macro is looking at the small interactions, and macro is going to be looking at the economy and the government from a whole picture. So if you picture a beach, the microeconomics is the sand on the beach. So it's the individuals and the firms interacting together. Macroeconomics, that's going to be the entire beach. So when we're looking at this, what we're focusing on is the decisions and interactions between individuals and firms. So the first thing we need to know is what the goals of these agents are. So for an individual, the goal is to maximize utility. So utility in economics is this other word for sense of well-being. It's a word for benefit. So in this case, when we are acting as individuals, we are acting in our own self-interest, and something that we assume about the individual is that they're rational. So what does this mean? As part of a rational consumer, what we're seeing is that consumers are making their decisions based on their own self-interest, so they're always putting themselves first, and they're also driven by incentives. Now, incentives can be different from person to person, and part of this is because each person has different preferences. So we'll be examining that throughout the course and looking at how people make decisions between these alternatives. Firms, on the other hand, their number one goal is to maximize profit. Firms need to ask what to produce, how to produce it, and how much to produce. So these are both what we'll be focusing on in this class. So a key term that I want to introduce into this class early on, and something that we're going to continue to discuss throughout the course, is something called opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is the cost that is foregone by making our choices. So it is the cost of the next best option. Let's take, for example, 2 mutually exclusive decisions. Regardless of how much money we have or how much wealth, we still only have a limited amount of time. So scarcity is a very important concept in economics. And because of scarcity, we need to make those decisions about which actions to pursue and which actions are foregone. So opportunity cost is the cost of our next best option. So for example, if we have two activities that we could be doing right now, you could either be watching this video for this class or watching a movie. Let's assume for a minute that you can't do both at the same time. And if we are still here, then that means you are still watching my video. So you chose to watch my video over watching a movie. So in this case, watching a movie would have been your opportunity cost for going and watching my video. So my video is the action that you choose. Your opportunity cost is what you give up, which is watching a movie. So we need to keep this in mind in terms of opportunity costs when we move forward. Since we're going to be talking about scarcity and how people choose among their different preferences, what we need to take into account is always what we're going to be giving up. Accountants and economists view profits and view decision-making in slightly different ways. And economists are more interested in what we have to give up in order to make the decision that we're going to pursue. So a couple more things that we're going to assume here. We're going to assume that individuals have unique preferences. That they are rational and self-motivated. And that people respond to incentives. What we're also going to be talking about, and a term that I want to introduce early on, is this concept of marginal analysis. We're going to be looking at things incrementally. So we want to know the difference between producing 1 unit and 2, for example, or should we charge $3 or $5 per unit? So when we examine our models a little later on in the semester, we're going to be interested in looking at our marginal differences and in making these decisions for our quantity and our price to charge. So moving forward with this, what we're going to be discussing first in our upcoming videos are something called comparative and absolute advantage. We know that we have scarcity and we know we have a limited amount of resources. So what we are interested in knowing is how we accumulate more resources and how we make decisions among all of our alternatives. So taking this with us and taking these assumptions forward, we're going to see how specialization in trade can lead to an increased division of knowledge and can lead to better outcomes and increased production. Thanks for watching this video.